Welcome back to part 2. Let's jump right in. The connection of Catholicism and Muslims goes even further. Pope St. Gregory VII, who reigned from 1073 to 1085, in a letter to a Muslim leader, Anzir, King of Mauritania, he stated the following: "We worship and confess the same God, though in diverse forms, and daily praise and adore him as the creator and ruler of this world." Here we have a Catholic Pope stating that Catholics and Muslims worship the same God. Muslims worship Allah, which is an anagram for the word halal, found in Strong's H 1984, which means to shine bright and to boast. This is the root word for Strong's H 1966, Hillel, which is the name Lucifer, the light bearer, the morning star, the shining one, the angel that was cast from heaven after he fomented a rebellion against God. Hold that thought for a second. We'll come back to it in a moment. I want to share something else about Catholicism, which you may or may not know. Did you know that while not every Catholic church contains the full body or bones of a saint, almost all consecrated altars contain a first-class relic, which is a fragment of a saint's bodily remains. Catholic churches were often built over the burial sites of martyrs, continuing the tradition of celebrating Mass in close proximity to their remains. The most famous and important section of the cathedral is the crypt. There are two famous Capuchin crypts in Italy, one in Palermo, Sicily, which displays mummified bodies, and one in Rome, which uses the bones of Capuchin friars to create intricate artistic designs. Further, the remains of Pope St. Gregory are located in the Cathedral of St. Matthew in Salerno, Italy. In addition, St. Peter's tomb is located in the Vatican necropolis, a burial site underneath the current St. Peter's Basilica. With that in mind, now I want you to look closely at this image, and you will notice that the Annunciation Church is shaped like a coffin. Not only that, but the shooter, Robert Westman, was 23 years old. Remember I told you that the number 23 and 33 is connected to death and resurrection, since Yehoshua answered the Sadducees' question concerning death and the resurrection in Matthew 22 verses 23 through 33. Moreover, this shooting also occurred 23 days after August 4th, Obama's birthday. The number 23 and its association with Chicago points us to the Chicago Bull, Michael Jordan, whose name means "who is like God, the fallen one," and who won 6 rings, as a reference to the Viking 6 king or 6 god, Saturn or Satan. This is also the reason that this shooting was orchestrated to occur in Minnesota, since their NFL team is the Vikings. Governor Tim Walz and the Vikings both issued statements concerning the shooting. We must also remember that the documentary, which followed the Chicago Bulls championship run and which featured number 23 and 33, was called The Last Dance, as a reference to the dance macabre, or dance of death. This connection to death and skeletons, or the dead bones found beneath the Catholic Church, also serves to connect the shooting with the shooting at the CDC on the campus of Emory University, which uses the skeleton Dooley as its mascot. Previously, I told you that Dooley first appeared in the phoenix as a reference to death and resurrection, since the phoenix rises from its own ashes. This skeleton and its connection to the phoenix, death, and the grave is further connected to the coffin-shaped Annunciation Church, since on the weapon used by the shooter to cause death and destruction, he wrote the phrase, "Like a phoenix, we rise from the ashes." Above this phrase, he wrote the name Israel, which means he who struggles with God will fall. This also symbolically represents the fallen angel who was cast from heaven for his rebellion against God. Not only are Catholic churches built upon burial sites and their altars contain bones of so-called saints, the Catholic religion itself includes communion with the dead through Mass. Mass is an earthly representation of the communion of saints, which unites all members of the Church, those on earth, the souls in purgatory, and dead saints who are with God in heaven and are considered an active part of the Mass, not simply revered figures from the past. We are warned about communion with the dead in Isaiah 8:19, which declares, "And when they shall say unto you, Seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep, and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead?" It's no surprise then that this satanic ritual, human sacrifice, was orchestrated to occur in a Catholic Church, which promotes communion with the dead against what Scripture actually teaches.